The Omicron Gamble. My name's Mike Cashman. If you find what I'm saying is interesting or useful, please subscribe to the channel. Britannia waives the rules. I will get to the Omicron Gamble, but first of all I want to set some context. On 20th of July this year, I made a video saying COVID severe case numbers to get much worse. I said thousands and thousands of us will die. This was at the time of all remaining restrictions being removed simultaneously. The prediction that thousands and thousands would die has proved right. The death rate at that time was about 200 per week. Despite increasing number of vaccinations, there was still a substantial number of unvaccinated people, which meant that that death rate was possible despite the restrictions. But it was, as I say, about 200 per week. Following relaxation, it rapidly went up to 1,000 per week, and that has been the average since then. So I predicted that things would get much worse. They did. It was difficult to predict exactly how bad it would get. The experts did not know, which is why they shouldn't have why the government shouldn't have relaxed all the restrictions at one time. But they did relax them all at a single time, and the result is that 1,000 deaths per week. What I didn't fully anticipate is that 1,000 deaths per week, that it would be possible for the government effectively to treat that as business as usual, to wave it away. I don't know if you recall the initial suggestion that if we could get through the whole pandemic with only 20,000 deaths, obviously the deaths would be tragic for those concerned, but overall that would be a good result. Well, as we head towards 150,000 and adding 4,000 every month, that seems a very long time ago. What we're in, of course, is effectively a policy of herd immunity applied to unvaccinated subjects. I did work that out and realised that it actually made the letters of hiatus, but that was accidental, really. But if you remember back to February 2020, Boris Johnson was talking about the virus has to move through the community, we have to take it on the chin. Well, for the unvaccinated, I'm afraid that's where we got to. The virus was allowed to move unrestricted through the unvaccinated population, and there was sufficient population there for the virus to cull 1,000 deaths every week. Every infectious virus needs a population. This is why in South America, before the Spanish arrived, there were no infectious diseases, because fatal infectious diseases cannot survive in populations where there are kind of small tribal groups. If within the small group the virus kills a load of people and others recover, but everybody's had it, then within that tribe of 200 or 300, the virus has got nowhere else to go. So it can't survive. That's why the viruses didn't develop. That sort of disease, infectious disease, did not develop in South America. Now, in Europe, where there were cities and there's always new hosts to go to, and also another possible factor was domestication of farm animals kept in close proximity to human beings, infectious diseases could thrive. And hence, when the Spanish arrived in South America, they wiped out far more people from diseases than ever they killed in any other way. Read Guns, Germs and Steel by Jared Diamond if you want to learn more about that. But COVID-19, particularly the Delta variant, had a sufficient population in the UK of unvaccinated people who, never mind any potential of affecting the vaccinated, but it had plenty of unvaccinated people in order for the virus to move through that population. So, as I say, if you're unvaccinated, I'm sorry, but effectively you're experiencing the let it move through the population, take it on the chin, 1,000 deaths per week. So now we come to Omicron, and the UK government is taking a big gamble, because what they're doing is saying the one thing that we've done right is vaccination, so let's put all our eggs in the vaccination basket. Minor ramp up of restrictions for masks in retail and public transport, but most of our eggs are in the vaccination basket. Now, that is a gamble. and I'm deliberately making the video at this moment when we don't really know how effective the existing vaccines will be against Omicron, or how severe the Omicron symptoms will be, whether Omicron effects are milder or not. But if you talk to the pharmaceutical companies, they will be cautious. The chief exec of Moderna has said he does not expect the existing vaccines to be effective against the Omicron variant. Now, you can understand somebody in his position being prudent, being careful. He's there to try and protect you, and he doesn't want to overstate the protection that might be applied. Doesn't want people to over-rely on the existing vaccine in the way that the UK government are doing. In the end, whether or not the vaccines will be effective against the Omicron variant, nobody really knows. What the UK government is doing, though, is saying we are going to put just about all our eggs in the vaccination basket. So we're putting in loads and loads of resources. We're diverting NHS attention away from other things that it could be doing in order to get to the delivery of a third booster jab to the largest UK population possible. Now, in criticising that, I could be accused of, he would say that, wouldn't he? Because being the age I am, I've had my third booster jab. But I honestly question whether that's right. And what I can see is that the UK government is once again concentrating on effectively inputs. And it's what we've heard before, 100,000 tests per day, 25,000 contact tracers. It looks at inputs. It doesn't look at the outcomes that it wants to achieve or work backwards from them. The best way to explain this is what I've put into a children's story called When the Cove Giants Came, which you can find on this channel, and it's there. I made up the story in order to teach critical thinking to children, and was reading it once again to my grandchildren at the weekend, and they love the story. But as I say, from the UK government, we have this concentration on what can we do. They want to be seen to be active. They love bringing in big measures, but without any careful consideration of what outcomes are to be achieved. And it is uncertain at the moment whether what they're doing will have a significant effect, or at any rate an effect that justifies the resources that are put into it. It may be that the resources of the NHS would be better spent saving lives in other ways, which they're going to be diverted away from. What can we do? Well, it's just worth bearing in mind that if the Omicron variant is resistant to vaccines, then we're all back into the February 2020 situation of the virus potentially moving through the community, but with far fewer restrictions than were brought in, for example, mid-March 2020. So what can we do? We can consider wearing a higher grade of mask. I'm not pushing a particular product, but just consider that as a possibility. We can exercise caution in terms of the social contacts that we make. I'm not trying to be a scaremonger. I'm not trying to tell anybody what to do, actually. I'm just saying, be aware that your vaccination, which has protected you, the science can tell us, against the Delta variant, may not be as effective against the Omicron variant. Last word on this, why do I call it Omicron? Now, many people questioned about this, get out of the question by saying, well, I didn't do Greek at school, so I can't really comment. I don't have that get out because I did do Greek at school at lunchtimes and I got an O level in it, which doesn't necessarily qualify me to speak about this. But what I will say is that the Greek letter Omicron, and I'll explain why I pronounce it like that, that is the short O, as in bollocks. The Greek letter omega is the long O, as in home. So it would seem logical that when you say omega, you say it with a long O, as I just have done, and that when you say Omicron, that you say it with a short O, an O sound. So that's my two penneth on that, with a little bit more knowledge than some who've spoken about it. But by all means, consult a pronunciation expert. So, I'm Mike Cashman. Do subscribe to the channel. Britannia Waves the Rules. And watch some of the other videos, actually, to see some of the other recent videos, to see the free book that I'm offering. And keep safe. Thank you.